it's kind of the sparks are flying, because it's something that Nancy had urged me to do, and I really had thought, oh, that's a great idea, but I haven't executed on this, which is on my Weebly site.
Oh.
Where it's kind of my professional persona or whatever. What I really need is to include in that site I list some clients that I've worked for and some projects and retailers that I've worked with and so forth. But I need to give a little bit more meat, put a little bit more flesh on the bones. And I think what you're suggesting is interesting, which is that it could be, the Campobello case study. I know maybe it wouldn't be a formal case study, but just put a little bit more, kind of a narrative.
Narrative, very nice.
The product as much as the business. What happened, how we went online, how we sold direct, how we sold to distributors. The different channels that we pursued in terms of sales, and basically, what the progression looked like, and coincidentally, one of the big hurdles that everybody needs to look at in their business, which is scale and funding, which I was aghast going to many of the Wharton kind of incubator, how to grow your business type thing, and at the end everybody would talk about sources of funding, and the professors or teachers would invariably say, oh, well, you have to, no, banks are not going to fund this. This is not fundable. You have to put it on your credit card. Or your equity loan. And that is a bucket of cold water on a lot of people's bank here.
Sure.
Which is, until you get to a certain size or scale, that's your only recourse in many cases to kind of get things to a certain point where you can then seek conventional funding.
Interesting. Well, see, part of when you do make that narrative, and I like this aspect that you're not using a loose definition of case study. You're using a very accurate definition, so it might be called a narrative. I like that.
I think so, because what you're suggesting, case study, and I like that idea, but that implies a lot more
rigor.
Pieces that can be analyzed, and quantified, usually in case studies. At least that's what people look at. And this would be much more kind of a narrative or an evolution of an idea into, how things can progress from, what a great olive oil. What do we do with it? What are the steps?
Well, the other side is the narrative would say, this is what I've done before. What might I do with your product or service? That's what's interesting with that. That's interesting. I actually just got a contract signed by a company in Pittsburgh that is the Pittsburgh Popcorn Company. And they have an amazing product. I discovered them at the Natural Food Show in Baltimore, the Expo East show. And a friend of mine, a Dutch guy who brokers Greek yogurt that's made in Vermont, was saying, I'm not going to the show, but I'm really looking for a great snack item, like it could be popcorn, it could be chips, it could be pretzels, it could be whatever. And I said, well, I'll keep my eyes open. And lo and behold, these were first-time exhibitors, and they have a most outstanding product. Non-GMO corn, which is important, all natural, and hand-produced popcorn. So the popcorn itself, and I was aware of different varieties of popcorn, but anyway, the popcorn itself is phenomenal. But then what they've done in terms of flavors, chocolate, where they use really high-quality chocolate and caramel and pretzels and various other ingredients, and they do a kettle corn and so forth. So they have a beautiful line, and they had been in Pittsburgh, I think they said, for 6 or 7 years. They have 3 stores in Pittsburgh selling this Pittsburgh popcorn. And of course, then the light bulb goes, and they said, well, we'd like to wholesale this. And then they're saying, well, what makes our walk down the aisle and I say, this looks really good. And I taste it. I taste it. I go, wow, this is extraordinary. Who's carrying it? Nobody. Who do you sell to? Well, we have a few customers in our hometown, Pittsburgh. Anyway, so the rest is history because I now have a contract with them to represent the product up and down the East Coast. And in association with this Dutch guy who I've worked with before on different products, he's going to present it to some of his customers. I'm going to present it to some of mine. We're going to bring in some direct brokers who will sell it to gift and gourmet and coffee shops. And I think they're going to have a very nice business.
And it's 80% of success is just showing up. Woody Allen.
Yeah, maybe 90%.
Wow. And both they showed up and you showed up. You took the time to go to the show, right?
Yeah.
And
that's interesting. And what was surprising to me, though, and this again, you learn from these things, is I called because they said, we'll send you samples and whatever. And I said, that's great. Sure. Materials, whatever you've got. Nothing showed up. And I thought, that's strange. They must have made a deal with somebody else, or who knows, maybe they're just flaky or whatever. So I called them and I said, look, it's fine if you've got, some other channel or other relationship. I'm calling because I really like your product and, wanted to see what had happened since the show. They said, we've got a lot of inquiries, but you're the only person who's made the call. So, we're
Had they lost your email? Had they lost your contact info?
No. They haven't. They were sitting on it. But, a lot of manufacturers are not salespeople in the sense of they're waiting for the phone to ring. And, of course, I'm remiss in terms of, I'll give them 10 days, but if the samples don't show up, I'll call them and say,
right.
If you decided to go do something else or not work with me, then tell me, it's fine. But, don't let it sit. And, of course, what happens at these shows, they're furiously busy. It's a high adrenaline because everybody says, I love your product. I'm going to buy truckloads. I'm going to put it in every store. And this is the greatest thing. And then they've said that to maybe 50 other suppliers at the show. And they come back and they either lose the card or they forget or they're distracted. And the producer, packs up their booth and they drive back to Pittsburgh and they've got a huge, inbox of stuff that needs to be done. And that's always the greatest challenge with going to trade shows, that you spend a lot of money going there. You invest your time and effort and energy to show your product to best advantage. But if you then go back and you don't follow up on each and every contact that you've had, you've just wasted God knows how much money and how much time.
Right.
And the same is true, and I will say, on my side, I have a huge box full of lines that I've seen at various trade shows, but I come back and say, well, it was kind of good, but it wasn't that good. I don't think there's an immediate opportunity. I'll keep it as a resource. Because down the road, someone may say, I don't know, we're looking for a tea made from lettuce, which I now have. It's in Florida. It's a lettuce tea. And I didn't realize this, Steve, any more than I suspect you did, that in certain ethnic groups, lettuce tea is a great remedy, homeopathic remedy for various ailments.
Without the caffeine?
Tea. It's a tea, but it's made from lettuce.
But it doesn't have caffeine, so there may be some religious thing there, too, that, some people don't. You're not supposed to have stimulants in certain religions.
I hadn't thought about that, but that could be a factor. I literally, at these trade shows, you in many cases, you don't have a lot of time because there's so many people coming up and down the aisle. So you maybe have 5 minutes, maybe, 10 minutes to get the whole story.
Amazing.
So